Hi, today I want to talk to you about tea time. This is something that we like to do in our house once a week. It doesn't always happen, but if that were a good amount of time, then we would do it once a week. And the reason we do it is it gives us a time to pause and sit together and enjoy poetry. So what you do is you set your table. Nice. You can just have a tablecloth that you use only for tea time, and you make tea, and everybody gets a cup. They all in our family have their own cup of tea, own special cup, and so when it was tea time, they would get their cup and set it on the table. Truthfully, my kids don't like tea, so I'm the only one that drinks the tea. But then I make a pot of apple juice for them so that they can have the experience of doing that. Now they do like the sugar cubes, so we put sugar cubes in here and a little milk in this, and they get to play with that too. But the idea is to have a time where you can sit and pause together. Tea time is nice because, we get so busy when you homeschool, you're running here and running there, but this is a time when you set the table, it just kind of has this feeling of, all right, we're all sitting together now, and creates an atmosphere of relaxation and a time to listen now for what's coming. And that's where we bring in the poetry. So when you do tea time, I forgot to tell you this. One thing that my kids love during the tea time is eating cinnamon rolls. Now, these are not homemade. Don't tell anyone I told you that, but they are the little can that you get and you pop it and stick it in the oven, and 10 minutes later it's all done. Everybody has their idea of how gooey it's supposed to be and how much frosting and everything, but that is simple. It costs $2, and you stick that on your table, and everybody runs to the table. Oh, it's tea time, yay. Okay, when you're young, when the children are young, then I would suggest a poetry book that brings them in. This is one of my favorites, and it's A.A. Milne. It's Now We Are Six, and this has some very simple poems in it, but very fun and engaging for young ones. Another really fun one for children, of course, is Shel Silverstein's Where the Sidewalk Ends. This, you cannot go wrong. The children just love listening to poems from this, and when you read them, they'll say, read another one, and they want to look at the pictures, and it's just wonderful. So that is a great one to hook them and get them interested in poetry. Of course, A Child's Garden of Verses is another awesome poetry book, and a treasury of children's poetry. The thing about poetry books is people don't really appreciate them as much as I do. And so you can find these books at the used bookstore for $1 or $2, or at the library giveaway sale. And it's just a wonderful thing to have in your house. You pull out the poetry book and you just sit and read poems. Now, very important thing about poetry tea is that's the time where the children sit quietly and you read the poem. Do not analyze the poem, though. This is just a time to enjoy the poetry. You don't want to get in between the person who wrote the poem and your children who are listening to it. You want that to be an experience that they get to have on their own. So you read the poem, pause. If people want to talk about it, they can. Otherwise, then you read another poem. Some families have children bring the poems to the table, and then they read those together, that each child gets a chance to read their poem during the tea time. I think that's a great idea, too. Now, just when we're on the subject of poetry, I do want to encourage you, if you can, to help your children memorize poems. Poetry is such a great way to develop vocabulary, proper speaking and enunciation of words, and it's just a great way for children to put bite-sized pieces of things inside their mind, and when they recite those poems to grandma or grandpa and just show off their knowledge of that, it's just fun for them, and it's fun for grandma and grandpa too to hear these poems being read. And we have memorized poems for years, and it's so fun, like if you're driving or in the supermarket and you hear some word or phrase from a poem, then suddenly everybody bursts out in the poem saying what they've memorized. So I just encourage you to start tea time. Some people have tea time on Tuesdays. It's just easy to remember because tea on Tuesdays, but it doesn't matter. Just have tea time. Grab yourself. You can go to someplace and get a nice cheap tea set, and it doesn't have to match. It's just the fact that you're treating them to something special. So go ahead and try tea time today.